What is up YouTube, Sciz1 here. Today we're going to be doing a comparison between the Krink K-90 and the Dykem Dalo industrial paint marker. We're going to be testing both of these out on a few different surfaces to see how they tag and see how they write, but first I'm going to tell you just a few of the differences between these obviously very similar products. The Krink K-90 here will cost you about $14 and comes in two colors, black and white. This is the white, the black would have a black body. The Dalo, on the other hand, comes in basically all of your primary colors, and it'll only put you out about $8. I do have to say from experience, all of the colors this does come in are very vibrant and they stick out. The colors indicated by the white here. So this one's white, that's white. We're comparing with the same color. Now I don't really need to tell you can see there's a huge size difference between these two industrial solid metal body paint markers. The Dalo here holds 4 ounces or about 118 milliliters of liquid, whereas believe it or not, the Krink K-90 only holds 26 milliliters. So it seems like just from the info, the Dalo gives you more paint and more color selection for less money. But of course the real test here is going to be how they tag and write on different surfaces, so let's check that out now. Okay, so we're out in our testing area now. I forgot to mention earlier, if you want to pick either of these products up, I have links to both of them in the description for pretty much some of the most reasonable prices I could find. Also, if you do buy from that link, that does help support the channel. So I'm going to start off by testing both of these out on just a smooth painted cardboard so you can see just sort of how they write on a smooth surface in general, and then after that we're going to go and we're going to test this out on, this is a piece of plywood, so it's sort of rough plywood, so we'll see how it writes on a bit of a rough surface. And then after that, we can even do a test on brick, see if they can handle the most rough of surfaces, you could say. So let's get right into it. I'll start off just by testing out the Krink K-90 here. If you don't know how to work these, basically you just give them a pump. It's very important with the Krink here, this is something I didn't realize earlier, that you just pump it once or twice. It is worth mentioning that neither of these are refillable. I think that's something that's probably hard to do with a pressurized type system like this, but it's also very disappointing given the price of each of them. But let's see how they write. So even just with one pump sort of per tag, you could say, this has a very consistent output. It is sort of streaky, and the formula is a very sticky paint formula itself, but I think that'll help it be much more permanent. And of course, Krink is best known for, you know, being a very permanent product, much more so than a lot of other products that even claim to be permanent. So that's probably one of the reasons its price is so much higher than everything else on the market, essentially. But so far I'm enjoying this. Let's just test out and see how it feels compared to the Dalo now. Well, I stopped recording on accident and did a couple tags, but I was saying off camera, as you can tell right away, the Dalo is much more vibrant than the Krink K-90. Part of that is because the ballpoint is a bigger ballpoint, and another feature about these Dalo markers is that you can buy them in different size ballpoints. This is the medium size. It's probably about, 3-4 millimeters, something like that. You can buy large and small as well, obviously, but you can also tell the white is just a much more vibrant white. That's part of what I was mentioning before. As far as the actual writing goes, the Dalo is much more smooth. Part of that is the bigger size ballpoint. That's always going to help. Personally, I don't really know why anyone would want a smaller ballpoint when you can get a bigger one. This is just much smoother to write. I think part of it is because of how sticky the formula is for the Krink K-90, but also just because the ballpoint is a little nicer, and you can tell the whole system they have is just a little nicer. Like, this is a nice metal body, whereas the Krink K-90, you can sort of like almost squeeze it and dent it just with your hands, and the whole thing is just built into one piece of metal there. It almost doesn't feel like this is as high quality in terms of make as the Dalo does, which is sort of sad to say given the the large price difference. But I think we're going to test both these out on some rougher wood now and see how it stands up to that. So again, we'll start off with the Krink on here. I do have to say, this writes very smoothly on something like painted wood. They say pump 1 or 2 times, it's maybe more like 3 or 4. The pressure could change marker to marker as well. Yeah, overall very fun to write with. So let's see about the Dalo on wood. With the Dalo, you do have to pump much more. 7 or 8 times just to get it flowing is not uncommon really, and it doesn't really get mad at you if you do that. So you can see the Dalo had a bit of trouble there. I'm gonna leave that to that it just wasn't pumped enough, but we're gonna see what we can do if we pump it more. Much better flow once you get it started. I would say it's a little finicky, if anything, getting the flow actually started, but once you get it started, you know you definitely have enough pressure built out to get a full tag, if not more, out on the surface with it. So that's nice. And really when it is flowing, the vibrancy is really nice. Although, to be fair, the Krink K-90 had really good vibrancy over here. Okay, so just to finish this off, we're just gonna see what each of these markers can do on one of the roughest and hardest surfaces of them all, brick. I can tell you from experience, I have written on rust, like rusty metal with both of these, and it works quite well. Let's see what it can do first with the K-90. Well, to be honest, it had less trouble on that than really anything else. I'm gonna put that down to it being me writing straight down rather than sideways. I think that is a really big factor with both of these markers, but this had no problem whatsoever. Obviously, you can't go really fast and make a nice wispy tag or anything, but it does write on it. Let's see about the Dalo. Again, no surprise there, the Dalo having absolutely no trouble. I do have to say, like, in person you can tell a little bit more, but the white from the Dalo is just vibrant, and that's sort of like almost an off-white that you're getting out of the Krink, which is a little disappointing. I don't know, maybe they made it like that on purpose, but to me, just the more vibrant white looks much better. So overall, I'd have to say the big question is, which one are you gonna choose here? And for me, cost personally is a big factor for me. If it's down to cost, I'm definitely choosing Dalo, and I will tell you, in my experience, I choose Dalo over Krink. If you're looking at other factors like, you know, just consistency, quality, I would say even that, the Dalo has a better build. You can tell it's just a higher quality marker. The Krink does write a little more smoothly most of the time, and it's a little easier to get the flow going, but once you get the flow going on the Dalo, it's just as smooth as the Krink to write with, if not smoother on some surfaces. It's a more vibrant color, you have more color selection. So personally for me, I would go with the Dalo over the Krink, but the Krink is definitely not a bad product either. At the end of the day, I do have to leave it up to you guys watching. Maybe leave it in the comments. If there's any factors I left out about either of these markers that you enjoy, let me know. And that can also help other people know if they're trying to choose which one of these to buy. Leave it in the comments. Let me know if you want to see more reviews. Check out some other stuff on the channel if you're new here. We do lots of reviews. We do some graffiti freight train watching videos, my personal graffiti. And if you enjoyed it, consider subscribing. Till my next video, peace.